Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of the Four Corners Podcast. We are here before the Infinity Pro Grand Tournament 2 show with our very special guest, Nikki Campbell.
Hi.
Nikki, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. So for those of you who don't know Nikki, Nikki is a ring announcer who has been all over the United States, all over Indiana. What kind of feds have you worked for?
I've worked for a lot of Midwestern feds, Emerge Pro Wrestling, Infinity Pro tonight, Wrestling Theology Fellowship, Paradigm Pro. There's just some of the ones off the top of my head. But yeah, I've worked for quite a few.
By the way, for the fans watching at home, this is a very bizarre podcast. We're in Bizarro Land. We're at the Lafayette Theatre doing a podcast instead of at Scott's house, so that's why we don't have any tables and we're sitting like
Indian style.
fourth graders on the floor, so this is the only way to get the lighting well. So,
It's good though.
yeah, it's interesting. This is definitely different. This is not what I was expecting. I was like expecting a room with, but it's okay. We figured it out.
Zach, do you want to go to the first question for Nikki?
Out of my questions, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pick a question.
Alright, so let's see. So, I guess I've seen on your some of your social media that you were nurses. Is that something that you want to do professionally, equestrian?
I've done that for 12 years of my life, and it's kind of like wrestling where it's really hard on your body as well. And for many years I wanted to go pro with it, but it's one of those I'd rather have my body intact, so I just do it for fun.
Fair enough. What made you want to become a professional wrestling announcer?
It was kind of something that I fell into, and I got granted an opportunity. A ring announcer was gone from the show, and they saw me in the crowd and was like, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And after I did it, I kind of fell in love with it, and it just kind of went from there.
So they just picked you randomly out of the crowd? Or?
I was friends with somebody who was working on the show, and so I had hung around right before the show started, and originally they used me for a promo, and then that promo is somewhere, I'm sure you can find it, but we hide it because it's terrible. And then it just went from there. So
They do that for like Raw and SmackDown. Like, I'm in the audience, I'd like to be called.
Just little comments. I guess we should say this beforehand, but this is your first like podcast type deal, right?
yeah, this is my first. Usually I've been on the radio before and I've conducted interviews,
Yeah.
so this is a little bit different
Nice
for me.
little switch there.
Yep, definitely.
The question I was going to ask you is, have you ever thought about transitioning into professional wrestling from ring announcing?
I've thought about it, but it's one of those that, like I said, the horses have kind of taken a huge toll on my body, and I think I found my niche of what I'm good at in the professional wrestling business, and so maybe sticking with it is where I can leave my mark.
Well, at least you know your limits, so that's very important.
Yeah, I almost had to have a knee surgery when I was 18, so yeah.
Walked off, or?
It was a combination. I got in a shoving match in a basketball game with somebody who was 6 foot tall, and I don't realize how tiny I am. I'm 4'11". So I got shoved down, and then the very next day I had a championship show that I had to go to, and just could not put any pressure in my strokes. It was just all a mess and ripped all the ligaments on my left knee.
I thought football was bad.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be something where, you got trampled by a horse. No, it's a basketball game.
Well, basketball game and horses, but
Just stacked up.
just when you do every sport you can and then you do horses on top of it, you're asking not to be able to walk by the time you're 30. So we'll see. Maybe I'll need a wheelchair. Give me an accessible ramp up to the ring.
Get you like a Segway that way you can come down to the ring.
Ooh, I could be like Mall Cop. That could be my new gimmick. That'd be great.
Zach, you got the next question, buddy.
This went another direction.
Yeah, it did. Let's see. So what's the one thing that you want to be remembered for if all of a sudden you had to, let's just say, stop ring announcing? What would you want to say your mark was in the wrestling business?
Honestly, for me, I think the most important is fan experience. And I've had moments where I've had kids come up to me and be like, especially like little girls, be like, oh, I want to do that. I think maybe that's what I want my mark to be, is you don't really look as a ring announcer position as something desirable, I guess, because it's not like in the forefront. And I think maybe if I could, push the little girls into wanting to do that, that'd be fun.
But that's still an important part of professional wrestling because it's one of the many layers that goes into making a good show. And that's a very important component to have. Colin?
Well, since you're an announcer, I was wondering, do you have any announcers from any other sports that you have a favorite of? Please don't say Chris Collinsworth. Scott will do.
I don't really have a favorite, but I do have a favorite announcement, and that was Jeremy Borash announcing AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for TNA. And that's kind of, if I think of like what I try and model my announcing off of, it's Jeremy Borash and Christy Hemme. So, yeah.
Unique combination. So did you ever grow up wanting to become an announcer? Was that something
It wasn't anything I wanted to become, but I was watching TNA with my dad from the time I was 7 to 11. So I kind of had it in my head, and that's back when X Division was huge. I had a crush on AJ Styles and Kazarian. But so that was kind of ingrained in my head from a very young age.
It's pretty good though. Maybe just seeing it at that age and then it staying with you and then eventually culminating to doing it actually live out there. You're going to do it again later tonight.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. It's very wild to think of because there was a period of time where I didn't watch wrestling, didn't have anything to do with it for a good 8 years.
Wow.
And then just came back into it this year. So.
Zachy?
Let's see. So, what do I got? What's some advice that you would give to someone who's going to aspire to be a ring announcer?
Don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone because you're going to have situations brought up to you where you're like, oh my gosh, that's scary. I had one at Paradigm Pro. Usually I'm not used in any spots, but my first show working for Paradigm Pro, they wanted to use me in a spot. And the spot included ramming me into another tag team. And it's moments like that where you're like, oh my gosh, this is so weird, that you kind of need to live for because that's actually what's going to get you more experience and it'll open conversation, I guess. Yeah.
Well, we've been doing this podcast for a while, so we've kind of got the jitters down, but do you ever get nervous before a show?
If I'm not nervous, then I'm not focused enough. It's one of those that you kind of have to be nervous because if you're going to be nervous, you're going to put forth the best product you can.
On that point, I had heard, I don't know if you've ever heard of Strong Cook. I had done some deals with him years ago, and he said before matches, if you ever stop getting nervous or you ever stop learning, that's when it's time to get out of business because you really can't add anything else to it at that point. You've got to keep learning and wanting to have that will to learn if you're going to do this business.
Right.
But my question for you is, out of all the companies that you've worked for, and what's been the most awkward moment?
This moment right here.
Well, there was a moment with my home federation merch. It was my second show working for them, and Congo Kong was on the show. And it was, nobody had really explained to me how you're supposed to interact with the heel as a ring announcer, because there's a little bit, you're supposed to act a little fearful or play off of the heel.
Kind of put them up.
Yeah, and I didn't know that. So Congo Kong, he's huge. And he could look down and bend down and smell the top of my head. And I remember I started laughing because it was so awkward. And I was like, what am I supposed to do? Nobody told me he was going to do that. And I'm very weird about touching. So when he did that, I laughed. And then he pulled me aside afterwards. He's like, yeah, so probably not the best thing to do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Hear that? Or I've had the mic taken from me several times. So that's always fun.
Yank it right out there.
There was one that he did it after every announcement, and this was at Emerge, and at first I thought he was legit mad at me, and I got really offended every time. So then after the third or fourth time, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna play with it. If he doesn't like me, he doesn't like me, which it turned out being completely opposite. But yeah, those are always super fun.
All right, Zach, what do you got for Nikki here?
Let's see. So, do you have any hidden talents?
I write poetry. I mean, I guess that's kind of hidden.
No, that's a talent. I know I can't write poetry. Can you?
I can't. I mean, I can
You
write.
say you can't write?
Yeah, I can't write. You know, that's why I'm glad I have a tablet. It autocorrects everything, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm in school for that, so I guess that's my hidden talent.
You have a favorite type of poetry?
Slam.
Slam?
Yeah, which is like basically you going on a rant and like spoken word.
I can do that.
If you see
That's
any of
my
our
entire
podcasts, we go on rants all the time.
That's my whole life. It's
But
just
then the
ranting.
best thing is you don't have to rhyme, so like you can say anything is a poem.
That's
It was written for me.
Calling about the next one.
This has been the weirdest, I think, podcast so far. Not like, you know, it's been good. I've enjoyed it so far, but I'd say this is the weirdest one. But what's been your favorite place to announce?
Are you meaning like as a ring announcer or as like, because I've also done like personal ring announcing too. Because like if it's all around, Infinity's pretty cool, but like I've always got a soft spot for Merge. And then wrestling theology, I'm a personal ring announcer, and like that whole situation was super fun to do.
That's for Jeremy Hadley, correct?
No, Jeremy Hadley, Jason Saint, Charlie Cool. So
And we've got Charlie coming on in October.
yeah, Charlie and I are really tight. So no, that's always super fun to do because I get to be kind of mean to the audience.
That sounds like you.
Yeah. What's maybe a goal? Like, what's one place that you would like to ring announce? Like, what's the highest level area you could ring announce at?
I don't really have promotions in my mind that I want to ring announce. I have wrestlers I want to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I've always wanted to announce Shotzi Blackheart.
Oh, okay.
Shotzi Blackheart's really cool. And then Zachary Wentz.
Nice.
So, guess whoever shows can book that for me. That would be.
Bucket list for this lady right here.
I'm completely shocked she did not say AJ Styles at some point. I figured since she's talked about AJ Styles quite a bit.
If I met AJ Styles, I wouldn't be able to talk. I would just be like, I probably would introduce myself as hungry, because knowing me, that would happen.
All right, Zach, you got the next question here. We'll make this the last round.
Okay. So I take it that you're going to Ball State.
Yes.
Okay, and that's a special place for me because that's where my parents went to school. So what is your major?
Currently it's creative writing. I've been through 3 major changes, so we're hoping this one sticks. Hoping.
Oh,
What has it been like to be in wrestling?
It has been one of the coolest experiences. I've gotten to meet a lot of really cool people. And my thing is I like to collect stories, I like to listen and get to know people. And I think the coolest part about it has been these wild characters that you see in the ring, meeting the person behind them and like becoming friends with the person behind the gimmick, I guess.
for me, do you have any social media or companies that you would like to promote here?
Well, I've got a crazy October coming up. I'll be working for Zara Lucha, which is a show in Indianapolis. That's going to be really cool. It's October 14th. Emerge on October 6th in Columbus, Indiana. Paradigm Pro in Jeffersonville, Indiana. And Wrestling Theology Fellowship in Carmel, Indiana. That's all going to be in October. You can find me on my announcing page under Nikki Campbell. I'm in a red dress in my profile picture, so it's pretty. Red dress, curly hair. And then I've got a Twitter. I think it's _Campbell_. Yeah, and that's literally my personal diary. So if you don't really want to catch all of me and just want to look at pictures, follow my announcing page.
All right, well, Nikki, thank you again for taking time out of your very busy schedule to sit and talk with us here at DM Style.
Thank you for having me. I feel like I'm back in the group. That's great.
Hey, that was the goal. But for everybody here at the Four Corners Podcast, thank you guys, and best of luck to Infinity Pro tonight as they will be crowning their new champion tonight at Infinity Pro Ring Tournament 2 in Lafayette, Indiana. You can also follow and like Infinity Pro Wrestling on Facebook at Infinity Pro Wrestling. Infinity Pro Professional Wrestling is the Facebook page.
Goodness gracious. illustrations, man.
Wouldn't be a podcast without one podcast.
That's
It's been a
the
long
plug.
All
Come
right,
on,
guys.
man.
Well, that's it for this one, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you so much. Peace out.
Later.
Oh, that's comfy. I'll be on my feet.